man. Terry, Rob, where do we even begin? Welcome along to P.M.P. It's a mad defeat in the Champions League for Celtic. A movie we have seen many a time, ladies and gentlemen. There's no two ways about that, but oh man. Got it. All that good stuff. Do we do that? Like, share, slag the hair? Oh, fuck all that. Let's just get into it, Terry. How are you, mate? You good?
Absolutely shite, but thanks for asking.
Aye, mate. No, from the elation, it felt like we got beat 3-1 tonight. You know what I mean? After bouncing them out to the palm go, even my voice is going a wee bit, man. I was right into it tonight. And then we go and do...
Very disappointing. We know how the Motherwell fans felt at the weekend, but I said to you just before we come on, we didn't even need to come on. You could just play a recording of our post matches from last season in the home games. Promised so much, lots of effort, lots of endeavour, some really good play, but ultimately we didn't have the quality to get the job done, and that's the stark reality of the situation. Bhoycie, we put a lot into that game. Put a lot into that game, and we've ended up with nothing out of it. And at this level, you've got to find a way to get the job done. I thought, similar to the Feyenoord game, I thought the opponent was disappointing from what I was expecting. I didn't think Lazio looked anything close to being a good side. It was definitely a step up from anything that we've come up against this season, and the game had to be played at a tempo that we haven't played at before this season, just for us to retain possession, because Lazio were very good out of possession in terms of their press, their intensity in the press. But we did that, and we were more than a match for them in terms of possession, passages of play. But ultimately, they got one lucky goal. That was a really frustrating goal for us to concede from a corner. But they had a little bit of quality in that moment at the end. I know, again, we made a mistake. I think we were masters of our own downfall on both goals that we conceded. But the one moment of quality from Lazio when that game came in the 96th minute and was enough for them to get the points. I suppose the bit I'm taking consolation is I don't think a point was enough anyway. So the difference between no points and 1 point, I suppose, is easier to take. But it's that elation. It's going from the high of Palma's goal. Like, I still hadn't came down from the disappointment of that, or hadn't got back up again from the disappointment of that before the sucker blow then comes at the very end. But it is what it is, Bhoycie. We're probably where we expect it to be in the group. We're sitting bottom, no points, 3 points behind, and we've probably, in terms of the actual gameplay, we've probably played to the best that we could expect. We'd one moment of quality, and that was the pass from O'Reilly, and that led to a goal. But we just didn't have enough moments of quality for us to get the job done in a game that could have been winnable, to be honest.
I totally agree. I thought it was a very much a winnable game, mate. Where to start? I mean, first half I don't think was the most compelling display, albeit I thought it was quite an enjoyable first half. I thought it was two teams evenly matched. Does that mean either team are brilliant? No, it doesn't need to be that, though. I thought the teams were kind of evenly matched, Terry, and I thought, do you know what? Going into the second half, I feel the game was there for the taking for Celtic. Let's talk about the goal, a positive, before we get into the despair, I suppose you could call it. Beautiful work goal. When you look at Maeda, first time he cuts in, the defenders look terrified of his pace. Now, I know it takes a hell of a lot more than just pace in football, but we've got a few technically, minded players as well. I think Maeda's a good weapon in Europe in particular. I think he is one of the sort of joker cards, if you like, that we can play in Europe that I don't think the opposition teams are fully prepared for.
Were you surprised he started on the right? Were you surprised with the lineup? So Yang on the left, Maeda on the right. I wasn't expecting that.
I thought it was clever. I thought it was clever when you seen the pace of the Lazio fullback that Maeda was put up against. It was an
Aye.
aggressive.
I was
because
wondering,
Yang and Taylor.
was it a defensive move though to sort of thwart the left back? I don't know any of their.
No, I think that he didn't have pace. The Lazio left
No.
back, he was there to. It was an aggressive move.
Aye.
I think it was you'll have him for the taking. Yang and Taylor on the left is far riskier than Maeda and Taylor because Johnston brings far more defensive stability than a Taylor would. So Maeda playing on the right, cutting in. I thought it was an aggressive move, and he's went rather than worrying about the covering side of it as much. Let's get Maeda in a position I think he can actually hurt them more. He cuts in, he gets Lazio turned, and then once Matt O'Reilly sees Kyogo run, that first touch pass was absolutely beautiful. It's a brilliantly slipped through ball from O'Reilly, and Kyogo finally gets up front. It's not like it's the most convincing finish. Who cares? Get it on target, get it low, and that's what he did. And we go a goal up. We then don't concede immediately after, Terry, which is often a concern of mine when Celtic score. And I thought we looked a bit... See, whilst the game might not have been Celtic playing at an enthralling best, I also think there's a wee bit of... There's a composure about the team. There's a patience to it all that meant we're not going to get hit with a sucker punch, dare I say it, at that point in time, like we often have. I didn't mind that aspect of it. I really didn't. What did you make of the first goal? It was a decent move, wasn't it?
Celtic goal. I thought it was an excellent move. And that the replays of O'Reilly's pass will probably be played in scouting rooms all across the world, and it's moments like that on the highest stage that really add to a player's value. As you say, when you see some of the finishes we've seen from Kyogo this season, the finish at Rangers and the finish at Aberdeen, you're expecting him sort of to lash it high into the net, and he almost kind of just scuffs it through the goalkeeper's legs. But it doesn't really matter at that point when that goes in. And I suppose I get where you're coming from there. You sort of then expect, well, as long as we don't concede one in the next 2 minutes, hold on for a while. And Big John in commentary was saying the same. Celtic just want a few minutes of calmness now and sit on that lead for a bit. And I think the annoying thing for me is when I was thinking about this game, I definitely thought it was a winnable game, but I was thinking our goalkeeper's probably going to have one of the best nights that he's had in a Celtic jersey for us to get anything from this. But it wasn't even like that. Lazio, they weren't that much of a threat. Some of these teams come to Celtic Park and you might be in the game, but you always feel they're very, very capable of cutting you apart at any stage. And it just didn't feel like that. And the first goal they got, the equaliser, it was just so scruffy from our point of view. It's not the type of goal that you expect to lose against a Champions League team.
Well, it hurts more when the Champions League, Terry, because it hurts more, mate, because when you see guys like Luis Alberto, Luis Felipe and stuff like that playing for, I think that's the right names, playing for them, you're like, these are guys of real ability that can hurt you. Do you know what I mean? For open play, set plays.
It didn't look like
that's what I'm saying, though. But, so if you've got that bit kind of, in check, shall we say, then when it comes to set plays, they're your bread and butter to be able to defend. That hurts when you concede for there, and you're spot on to highlight that. Again, it's so frustrating.
You're hoping, I suppose, it's a makeshift defence. We knew that, but the defence didn't play that badly, albeit it was defensive errors that led to the 2 goals. And I suppose you're kind of hoping, and I'm not pulling out anyone, but you're kind of hoping Nat Phillips is the centre back there who's got the aerial prowess, shall we say, and you're kind of hoping he's going to win the balls in the air, but that didn't happen. And obviously we'll get to the later one where another centre half who you would put your house on not making a mistake then makes a mistake and lets in a goal. The rest of the first half, Bhoycie, just to keep it in chronological order, there probably wasn't a great deal more in it. We didn't really look like scoring. I almost felt as if they settled from a draw from the moment they equalised, because that's what it felt like. They were killing as much time as possible. They were rolling about, the usual shithousery that you get. probably the moments just to pick on. What did you think about the incident with Hatate, where he gets caught with a flailing arm that wasn't looked at? So the commentators, if I'm right in saying, the commentators have some kind of insight into what's happening in the VAR room. For example, the commentator there tonight was able to tell us that Maida had touched the ball before any decision was made. So he knew that was. I think they get some kind of audio or some kind of.
They get told when VAR are looking at a decision.
Yeah, but
they get told
that incident wasn't looked at, and the commentator made reference to that. The commentator made reference. Now, would it have been soft? Yeah. Have you seen them given? Yes, you have.
Well, let's
even be checked.
Terry, I agree. Initially, I thought it looks like a brushing. Then you see the slow motion replay, and the slow motion replay doesn't actually do the contact made justice. I'll tell you why, which no one picked up on in commentary. Hatate had a shiner straight after it, mate. He's got a black eye. I don't know if you
think that was from Saturday. Was that not from Saturday? Remember he was down. Remember he was down for 5 minutes.
I'm sorry.
He must come up straight away.
I'm sorry. Oops, he must have gone.
I'll be honest with you. I thought the same Bhoycie, and then my dad corrected me.
When you get your dad on, mate, so for some quality,
you don't want him on the night. He's away stomping down the road there. Honestly,
is he?
No, he's not amused.
He had a black eye when he started. Brown Warrior, that doesn't suit my agenda, so let's drop that. No, I get it. But it did look like a forearm with a bit of meat behind it. I don't know.
There was more force in that than the challenge from Nat Phillips that got a yellow card at half time.
True.
Well, I don't know what that was about. I thought the referee was strange, to say the least.
I thought one of the other things I would say about it as well, when you talk about the VAR, is I want that looked at. I want then a decision. See if the decision is, we think it was one of those ones. He's not looking at the player whatsoever. He's just using his arms to protect himself. He's not. See if that's what they come up with once they've looked at a few replays. Cool. I definitely think that needs looked at, though. It definitely needs looked at. I think for it not to be looked at, it's a bit odd. Again, does it define the result? No, it doesn't. Not in my opinion. When they get their goal, Terry, and Joe Hart half saves it, these are the margins of the Champions League that hurt the most, isn't it? Because he's actually on the brink of making a brilliant save, and yet when it lands on the turf, it's just bounced over the line slightly. And then he still gets it. He manages to sort of half claw it away, but by that point, it's crossed the line. Those are the fine margins at Champions League level where I'm not looking for a blame culture here or individualistic sort of nature. All I'm trying to say is it just goes to show you how tiny the sort of improvements and tweaks are needed. Yeah, and bits of luck, Terry, at the top. You know, the highest level. Let's be real.
But it is fine margins, Bhoycie, because we're in this position year after year after year in European competition where we're proud of our team's effort, but we're ultimately sitting disappointed in a game that we feel we could have got something from. And it's those little fine margins and that little bit of extra quality. Someone with a bit more vision, bit more composure, just a bit more class than another person, and that gets you over the line. That gets you the goals that you need to go and win the game.
Which is fair observation as well.
We surprised Palma didn't start giving the confidence that he must have had after the weekend.
Very much so.
I kind of thought he might play. I thought Yang had a difficult game because it felt that a lot of the moves were breaking down with him. However, there were still some really good passages of play that he was involved in. And to be fair to the guy, he never had once, even when things weren't coming off. Every time he got the ball, he squared his fullback up and he took him on. And there's enough there to suggest that this guy's going to be an exciting player for the supporters to watch in years to come. But again, it's a big, big ask for him to go in at that level and produce the goods for you. I thought he was okay. I was pleased with his attitude, but I felt certainly in first half a lot of things broke down with him, and it wasn't a surprise, shall we say, then when Palma came on. However, it probably was a surprise that Palma didn't start for me.
Yeah, I thought Palma should have been in the 11, if I'm honest. I think he earned that as well once he came on. I thought he looked a more composed player. He's more deep thinking. But sometimes it can be the act of surprise that can win in football. You've got someone who's just a bit raw around the edges. They have decision making that more experienced defenders don't expect. And I think we've seen a bit of that as well when Yang had cut in. He did a brilliant wee sort of jink between right round the player's legs. We got a free kick which we nearly scored from as well. But Palma, as you rightfully point out, with that confidence boosting goal at Fir Park, you're thinking, that's the right now time for him to come on. Notwithstanding that, he was our top signing over the summer, really. So you would think by now, 4th of October, that should be someone who's fully fledged into our lineup for our biggest games. I would have thought, not Yang, who. But again, let's not take the conversation too far to putting that as the sort of main reason why the result was what it was. Albeit, it looks like we are then going to have a major say on the result in the second half. 81, 82 minutes. A brilliant bit of composure, first and foremost, from Palma. Takes that touch inside, goes near post, which you don't see as often, and it's with complete precision. A brilliant finish. Place erupts. I seen the replay first time and I went, he's off.
Aye.
I wish John Hartson was in the VAR room, because he's just like, no having it in. He's just like, I don't think Maeda's touched it. I'm like, he touched it. Big Hartson's just like, not wanting to give anything. It was gutting for that point of view, because when you watched it in real time, hadn't crossed my mind it could be offside.
Didn't even look close in real time.
First real replay I seen, I went, oh shit, he's off. Then they start slowing it down and you realise it's going to be definitely disallowed. But that felt like conceding. That felt like going down 2-1 at that point, Terry.
Yep. And to make matters worse for Palma, he still gets the yellow card. So in other scenarios, if a foul takes place and you get carded and then VAR winds it back to a moment before when that happened, the card then gets rescinded, but not for taking off your shirt, apparently. So his yellow card.
What, there's an exception to the rule for taking off your shirt?
Seems to be, yes, seems to be. Bhoycie, I said at the start that the disappointment for that goal being ruled out probably was more disappointing than the actual moment at the end, because I kind of had resigned myself. Well, 1 point isn't what we were looking for. I was just so gutted, because you thought we'd done enough at that stage, and it's like any of these conversations that you and I have. The result and what happens, the scoreline just makes a difference to your whole outlook on the game. And we'd probably been sitting here waxing lyrical about a Brendan masterclass in Europe and all that kind of thing, even though the first 82 minutes were exactly the same as what we've discussed already. But just gut-wrenching. But at the end of the day, it was the right decision. It was offside, and I suppose we can...
I've got no problem with that.
It was wrongly given or anything like that. It was offside, so it is what it is.
I've got no issue with that at the end of the day. But what it seemed to do was, though, the vibe we've had from watching it on telly, I think then came into the match. It's weird, but it's like if we're feeling it at home, they'll be feeling it out there. It was from the elation, no one's even thought about offside in the ground. Everyone's buzzing. The team are going crazy. Palmer's still on his knees whilst the VAR check's going on, celebrating at the skies. And you're like, oh no. Oh no. I feel like that moment happens. I never thought we were going to get a second after that. Do you know what I mean? I was like, no, if anyone scores again, it'll be them. Albeit, once we get to 95 minutes, see when that move begun, when Vickers loses, Cameron Vickers loses the ball, you knew they were scoring deep down in your heart of hearts. And that's maybe the inner pessimism coming in you, because like you were saying at the top of the show, seen the movie before, things like this. But I genuinely had a feeling they were, like, I was like, oh no. You see them queuing up at the back post. All it takes is a half-decent ball, but the header is sublime. Then we get to the interesting point where people are claiming he looks offside. I don't think so. John Hartson flags his arm.
Tight.
Is it not? I don't think you can be offside with your arm. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I don't think you can be, but it looked tight. It looked worth a check, and I thought every goal got checked. But again, the commentator said there's no indication that there's any check taking place. So my understanding is every goal gets checked. So maybe it did. I don't know. Yeah,
there was no offside check for it. There was no offside check for it, Terry. So they see if you notice what the commentators say. They go, "There's a check for handball. There's a check for offside." So I think there'd be a standard check with a goal, but I don't think there was a specific.
It looked tight enough for a check, for a line to be drawn, at least. The build up to that goal, I think I'm right in saying we got a free kick on the halfway line with about 3 minutes left to run, and I felt we missed a trick because I was thinking, right, do you know what? Let's put one in the mixer here. Let's throw Carter Vickers up. Let's put one into the mixer and just give them something to think about. Because, as you say, our chances to win the game kind of petered out after that Palma moment. And I just felt with 3 minutes on the clock, launch one into the box. Now, the other side of that is we didn't do that on Saturday. We didn't launch it into the box. We waited. We waited for the right pass. And the Taylor cross for O'Reilly got us the point. So I suppose I can't on one hand say that was the right thing to do, but tonight I felt the right thing was to put it into the mixer. But just the fact that we had a chance to get the ball into their box with 3 minutes on the clock, and we farted about, and it ended up predictably back with Hart, and then Lazio got the ball back, or whatever way it made its way to Carter Vickers, and honestly, I've only seen it the once because as soon as it went in, I just got up and got ready to come on here. But I don't know what he was doing. I honestly don't know what he was doing. And you could count in one hand.
He's got caught on it. He's got caught on it. But what I would like to then talk about, Terry, I know the show we limit to around half an hour when it's midweek. We've got work and all that the next day. This isn't a full-time job, you know. But let's talk about the options available to Brendan, and then potential changes to the line. We've spoke about Palma. We thought he could have been included. Bernardo comes on for Hatate. Hatate signed a new deal. We're hoping that's going to get the shackles off what's been a slow start to the season by his standards, I think is fair to say. That's not, again, being overcritical. People need to take these things in the face value that they said at. But with regards to Bernardo coming on, I actually thought he looked pretty assured in the ball. Quite composed again. Similar word I've used to discuss Palma. You've got CCV coming on for Nat Phillips. I thought Nat Phillips looked very good. That's a fitness reason. Cameron Carter Vickers came on for half an hour. I think if Nat Phillips wasn't brought in an emergency loan, we would have been rushing Cameron Carter Vickers in, who, if he can make an error like that and he's 30 minutes on the park, he could have made one or two. Or he could have been subbed off with injury concerns himself had he started the game. I think in defence, we look centre-back area actually like we've done good work. In the midfield, Bernardo, I think, is the signing that's went under the radar because he's only made 3 sub-appearances. But I think I'm definitely keen to see what he can do. Albeit, you could tell there is a first-choice 3 now in midfield. It's defined. And if Brendan has his way, he'll be picking Hatate, O'Reilly, McGregor. But then we get to the attacking options up top. O gets 5 minutes tonight, Terry. That doesn't tell me there's much faith in what we do once Kyogo's races run.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. Bernardo, the ball fell to Bernardo at the edge of the box when he was only on about 60 seconds, and he sclaffed a shot wide. It was quite a decent chance actually, but he's not had a kick up until then. So it's a pity. It's a pity he hadn't had a few more touches before that opportunity landed with him. The Carter Vickers substitution, I do still find strange though, Bhoycie, that we've brought in Nat Phillips as our emergency centre back, and he isn't fit to play more than 45 minutes, even after being at the club for at least a month, more than a month. He's been here. That's about a month, isn't it? Yeah, end of August. He came in at the end of the window, so he's been here 5 weeks, and he's playing 45 minutes. So that still feels strange that we've brought in someone who's absolutely nowhere near ready to be our emergency centre back, who we need during that period. So that was a strange one. Kyogo, I think with the game in the balance, you're leaving him on there just because, as happened in the first half, you're hoping if that chance falls, that it falls to him. And we know that O is nowhere near ready to get more minutes than what he's getting. And he actually didn't do too bad when he came on. He held the ball up and things like that and got involved.
He won a foul. There was a moment towards the end.
He won away as well.
Where he's got the ball up the left and he's got the time to do something and he just doesn't have the decision-making wherewithal to make a half-decent ball into the box. He just couldn't do it.
There's
But this is where I'm trying to go with this is, and this is going to be naturally the debate, Terry, throughout this group stage. It's now 2 games, 0 points. Unfortunately, the signings that have been made over the summer, when you consider the volume of signings, there is nowhere near enough of those that are coming in and are hitting the first team as first-team regulars. Yang may have started tonight. He's not going to be someone you hang your hat on at first-team level in the Champions League or even a crucial league game. If Yang starts, you go, okay, let's hope the boy does well. I think that's the vibe. And that's not me being negative about him. Bernardo comes on for his 3rd sub-appearance since he started. Not good enough to get into a midfield, even when some of them are off form. Palmer comes in £4 million. Not fancied for a Yang. O gets 5 minutes. Well, he was signed in January, right enough. But when you look at it, I think, again, it's staring you in the face. There was 1 or 2 more bits of quality they needed brought in, as opposed to the volume of players in the end that ended up looking more like, for the 2nd summer window in a row, a summer of stockpiling, Terry, and hoping, as opposed to cherry picking and improving.
I think that's what we've been saying, though, Bhoycie. And when you get a 1-0 win at Ibrox and you get a 95th minute winner on a weekend, the jubilation sort of takes over. But I think it's nights like tonight and the previous game in this competition that the reality is stark, that the work that we did during the summer just was absolutely nowhere near enough for what we've been told was one of the objectives for the season, was to improve in Europe. We needed 3, absolute minimum 3 players coming in who were better than what we had last year. We don't even have as good a team as last year.
I totally agree with that.
We're worse than last year, and we'll get away with it. And do you know what? On Saturday, we'll probably win comfortably at home, and tonight will be put on the back burner again. But it is these nights, and there's no coincidence that we're sitting having the same conversation year after year after year in the Champions League. It's that extra bit of quality. It's those small margins that we're talking about. It's that bit of quality that Pedro had to steer that header back across Joe Hart in the 95th minute. Unless you go in and bring that quality in, or you have a conveyor belt where you're bringing through first-team ready players year after year after year.
Terry, see for me as well,
you're not going to bridge
that. The thing is with this, the volume of signings that we've made of this similar profile, age-wise, potential-wise, is so unbalanced. There should be 2 or 3 of that sort of thought process brought in every summer, and then 1 or 2 oven ready, as I always call it. We didn't bring in anyone oven ready. That seems abundantly clear. Albeit, I like what I see for Palmer, but let's be real. You were more impressed by Jota in his opening few games for Celtic than you were by Palmer. So he's not like we've upgraded. We've lost a special player there and replaced it with someone who's probably going to do okay this season, particularly domestic. I think he'll end up with decent numbers. I do think that seems apparent from him. He's not gun shy when he gets the ball, and I don't mind that. But it's just so frustrating when the accounts are announced, you've got £70 million in the bank, and we're looking at, you've just said there, our team isn't as good as it was last season. How can we just keep evolving a bank balance and not evolving our first team? Surely the whole point of a football club is to be using the bank balance to evolve the first team, not using the first team to evolve a bank balance. It makes no fucking sense.
I think we could be sitting next summer and we could be saying, "Oh, do you know what? The business we done last year was excellent. Look how much Palma's come on. This guy Bernardo's an absolute baller. Let's pay whatever fee's been agreed. Look at the development."
That'll be domestic football that'll influence that, though, Terry.
Yeah, what I'm going to say is all of that's fine, but we needed players to hit the ground running September, October, November when this competition is being played. I don't want to be defeatist, but I think that's the job done after 2 games. I don't see us getting 3rd place in the group. I think it's done. I think it's done. It's really, really fucking disappointing, to be honest. But
it is disappointing, Terry, and I think you've hit the nail on the head. We will then go back to domestic bliss, and then players will, shine and look world days for 7-8 months. And that will tip the balance in your mind's eye that they're shit hot. And we actually did do, as you say, good business this summer by getting those guys in for such minimal fees. Then we'll get to Europe again. And because Europe is now such a short-term thing that we're actually involved in, it's completely tipping the balance, mate, as to what we're trying to strive for, surely, as a team and as a club. I want Celtic.
You know what the worst thing is? Next year, we're going to have to do 8 of these.
Well, apparently with Galatasaray getting results and stuff like that could fuck us. We might need to play a qualifier next year. We're not going to invest for that. We don't invest for the group stage. We're definitely not going to invest for the qualifier. That'll be us back to.
We said a couple of weeks ago. Your hopes and expectations now move to January, and can you do the business in January for this time next year in this competition that we've been knocked out of tonight, essentially? So it's too late. It's too late doing your business for the Champions League in the last 2 weeks of the deadline in August. Your work for next season's Champions League, your players that you're going to bring in, it really needs to be done in January and give them 4 months, 5 months to bed into the team, settle in, and then hopefully be ready to hit the ground running when this competition comes round early the next year.
That's one argument, but I also think in the first 4 or 5 months it's so important to have done something that impacts the team in that time as well. Yes, you might be, in terms of your development at Celtic, settling, but you have to be affecting that first team as well, because otherwise the fans will chase them new signings again come the next window. Look at Iwata as a prime example. He's been blended in. I said it myself. He's been blended in the way we had planned on from Aida and Atati, but needs were musts when they came in. Actually, Iwata didn't do enough in his first 5 months while settling in. By this time, did anyone expect him to start again this season? None of us have been looking out for Iwata's name in the starting team. You don't see any of it in the live chat ever. This isn't a dig at him personally or anything like that, because everyone gets offended by everything these days. It's just sometimes when you look at it, you go, yes, ideally you get guys in and they get this sort of a customizing sort of period of time to what Celtic is. But during that period, they also need to be affecting outcomes. And if they're not, we'll want to upgrade again in that same position. Come the next window that opens, £70 million in the bank, Terry. No points on the board in the Champions League. 2 games, and let's talk about the 2 teams. Feyenoord, nowhere near as good as we thought they were going to be, despite what they've done in the Eredivisie over the last few years. Lazio, as bad as what was getting made out over in Italy. Decent team. But again, at Champions League level, the Lazio and Feyenoord that I've seen so far are dream opponents at Champions League level. We've took fuck all for the first 2. Bitterly disappointed.
Yeah, there was a lot of supporters felt this was as good a group as you could have hoped to get, and I actually felt last year's was a better group for the prospects of getting out of. But the last 2 years haven't been bad draws. And last year we got 2 points. This year we're sitting on 0. I could be wrong, but the next 2 games are going to be very, very difficult to get anything out of against Atletico. Could find ourselves sitting here after 4 games, 4 defeats, and it's just demoralising. It's demoralising. Those 2 games, the last game against Feyenoord and tonight, there was definitely points there that we could have got points in both of those games if we had just that bit more quality, that bit more know-how, just that wee bit more class.
It sounds easier said than done, and I take that point. You know what I mean? It's just so frustrating. It's so frustrating because I think when we look at last year, the plaudits not points campaign, I thought Celtic tonight won't even get as many of the plaudits we might have got last year for being a more risky brand of football. Well, that makes sense in my head or not, I don't know. Hard luck stories we could fall for every year. I think there's undeniably, though, things that Celtic can do to affect what's happening at group stage football in Europe, to affect it. Celtic could be doing more to prepare for group stage football than what Celtic choose to do. And I think right now what we've seen in the first 2 games is actually, if you speculate a wee bit, you might be surprised at how much we can bridge the gap against certain teams. Now, of course, their argument will be, say we did it next summer, we spent 25 million quid, Terry. We'll then get drawn Bayern, PSG and Milan, something crazy like that, get cuffed every game and the board will go, see, no point. But for all those groups, you look at the last 2 years and there are 2 opportunities missed for Celtic to make a dent in Europe of some sort. I'm not saying first place in the group, maybe not even second. Certainly think in both groups we could have finished through the top 3 out of the 4 and dropped into the Europa League at the very least. In both last seasons and this season's. This season's now, we've got 4 games left, 2 against the best team in the group, away and at home. Lazio away, and an easier team last, which could end up being a dead rubber. It's just so annoying. It's so annoying that you, as you rightfully point out, this could now be gone in front of our eyes, and yet there was opportunity there for us to do better. Does it all go on the board? No, of course it doesn't. Individual mistakes like CCVs tonight, just shite. It's just annoying. We don't blame him personally. It's just one of these things. But you've got to give yourself the best opportunity at times. Celtic don't even give ourselves fucking, I don't even know how to describe it, 10% of an opportunity to qualify for these groups. We just seem to go in and go, who cares, we're here. That's all that matters. I hate that attitude, mate.
I'd say the dressing room will be despondent tonight, Bhoycie. The likes of McGregor, who's kind of been he's seen this movie before as well, and the atmosphere at the ground felt electric tonight. And the camera zoomed in when McGregor was doing his huddle, and you could see the passion in his face. You could see how much he wanted it. And I've no doubt that guys like him will be sitting going, "How does this keep happening? Time after time after time. Different players coming in, but just the same old." And who knows? Something might go our way in the next 2 games, and we find a way to get back into it again. But I think that it feels unlikely. The games that we needed to accumulate points in were Feyenoord and Lazio, and we probably are guilty now of just accepting that we'll not get anything away. And we talk about, well, if we win our 3 home games, we'll get 9 points, but we're not winning home games. We haven't won any of these important home games in a long time. And I suppose that the other side of it is then just looking back to some of the stuff that Phil covered in his Bustalgia and things. Some of the times that we did get the results in Europe, we didn't exactly have what we would have felt would have been a great squad for getting into a Champions League campaign. I think probably the most famous one is getting through the group with Caldwell and McManus at centre back. So I suppose that shows that it is possible, but we haven't done anything in this competition in a hell of a long time, and it's just very, very frustrating. Very frustrating.
Very frustrating night at Celtic Park. It finished 2-1 to Lazio thanks to a 96th minute winner. Celtic thought they may have got their first win in the Champions League home in 10 years. Sadly, they didn't. Thanks to everyone in the chat. It was over 300 live most of the show. So the bus keeps rolling. And we do thank you very much for that. Obviously, Misery always does love company as well. I'm going to head off. Bedtime for me. I'm sure it is the same for you. Terry, thanks very much as always for fronting up. Even when results don't go our way.
We'll go again Saturday.
We go again Saturday. Anyway, thanks to everyone in the chat. Have a good night.
See you.